Well, when I get really old and gray and my grandchildren, they're going to say, Grandpa, can you tell me about LT?
You mine, baby.
And I'm going to, gather them real close to me with all the love I can for them.
Son, I gotta do better than this.
I'm going to pause and I'm going to look them dead in the eye.
Hey, Shula, you better hope I never get back in there. I'm gonna kick your.
I'm going to say, hey, LT was a bad mother.
You gonna be a football player when you grow up?
Today is the best day of your life. Believe
Give me 18 years of daylight. That's all.
Greatest leader I've ever known.
What a ride it's been!
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs and have some fun.
Lawrence Taylor has walked a crooked road, from Super Bowl highs to rock bottom. The only constant has been the cameras.
LT.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was the greatest defensive player of his generation, but rarely protected himself.
Can you say ass on this thing? I had to suck. I better say that. I didn't have to. No. And then if you do, sack them. It's like, somebody just hand you $1 million. I don't know a whole lot more that you can do, that would give you a feeling like that. No, I don't try to hurt anybody, but I like to let them know they've been hit when I hit them.
He was as brutal on the field as he was brutally honest on camera.
I've done some bad things in my life. I'm not a choir boy. Of course, we all know this.
He's answered hundreds of questions.
What kind of person is Lawrence Taylor?
What kind of person Lawrence Taylor? God, that's a good question.
Through it all, LT's always remained unfiltered.
All right, guys, I'm here. What the hell y'all want to talk about?
The one thing I don't know that much about is where you grew up and what it was like.
Well, I grew up in Lightfoot, Virginia. I thought I was a good kid, but there were times when problems did come up, and it seems like I was always on the bad end of the problems.
Oh, yes. He was, he was no little. He was more than a handful.
Saturday night, when everybody was asleep, he would go out, and then he would knock at the window, and I would open the window and let him in.
So I caught him. He passed by, knocked on the window. He said, Kim, open the door. And I said, that's okay, Kim, I got it tonight.
Oh, he lost it. He started crying, Mama!
We got our share of spankings, I tell you that.
To keep reins on our boys, I always kept all the basketball rack, football, baseball, glove, they had bicycles. Our place was the place the community came to play.
Taylor only played backyard and pee-wee football until he got a nudge in the right direction.
I saw Lawrence walking the hall. I said, you got to play football next year, which will be his junior year. He said, Coach, I'm playing football. I said, what kind of football? He said, city league. I said, that don't count. You got to come play real football. He struggled, and the guys that he was playing with were beating him. One day, he quit. I said, you got to fight back. You can't quit. I pat him on the shoulder. I said, go on back out there. Either you fight back or take another whipping. You got a choice.
From that play on, I had all the respect in the world because I said, wow, I could do this and I could play this game.
When Lawrence was eventually a high school senior, he was not being highly recruited at that time, and unless schools really sent their coach directly to the school, they weren't going to find out about him, and obviously a lot of people missed the ball on that one.
So when I was in college, I just tried to be the rough, tough guy on campus.
Every time I would see him on the weekends, he was always bullying people. And so one night, I don't know what got over me, why I did it. I just kind of like stood there, and I refused to move. That's kind of how we started talking, and it became more than friendship after a while.
Lawrence Taylor started dating Linda Cooley his junior year. The same year he began to thrive on the football field.
He really wasn't that good as a freshman. I think he was a starter, and he was okay as a sophomore.
My junior year, I decided I'd rather be respected on the football field than in the streets.
As a junior and a senior, he just kept getting better and better and better.
Donnell Thompson unloaded on Maryland quarterback Mike Tice, recovered by Lawrence Taylor.
When he came to North Carolina, the coaches played him at probably 7 different spots before they found a home for him.
We tried him first at nose tackle, moved him to inside linebacker, and that wasn't what was meant for Lawrence. And so we moved him to outside linebacker, and that's where he fit.
Lawrence Taylor through Duke quarterback Ben Bennett. Lawrence Taylor completely intimidated the Pirate offense.
The third year away from Chapel Hill, I was coaching Texas Tech, and we were going to play North Carolina out there. It was a real close game. Sure enough, when Tech was in scoring position and a chance to win the game, Lawrence burst through.
He took the quarterback, the pitch, caused a fumble, and recovered a fumble in one play.
And we ended up winning the game 9-7. There's no question he had a lot of talent. In fact, I think the good Lord threw away the mold when he made him.
Lawrence Taylor completed one of the year's memorable plays.
Having worked with Bill Parcells, Bill did call and just said, "Tell me about this guy." I think I recall saying to him, "Bill, this will be short. He's everything you want."
You know, I wasn't exactly in charge of making the picks, but they were all very hopeful that he would not be picked on the first pick in the draft.
New Orleans Saints take as the first player, running back George Rogers of South Carolina.
When George Rogers was named the first pick, you know, I got up and went to the refrigerator to get a beer. By the time I got back, you know, I had already been, so I never even saw it.
The New York Giants selection, Lawrence Taylor, linebacker, North Carolina.
You ever think that you'd like to be known as the best linebacker the league has ever seen?
Well, I started out as my college number, which was 98. That particular year, they went to a new rule that linebackers could only have certain numbers. And I'd seen all the numbers like the Dick Butkus number. Well, everybody wanted to have Dick Butkus number.
Already people are beginning to compare you with names like Butkus.
And I wanted a number that was different, so I took 56. One day, maybe, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, possibly I could be the best linebacker in the NFL. I started on the bottom just like everybody else. I mean, when I first got to the Giants, I was on the third team. I only lasted about 10 minutes, and then I moved to the second team. Before I knew it, I was on the first team. Yeah, this is all in the first half hour, but...
It took LT literally about one practice for everybody to know that he was probably the best player on the field.
His first scrimmage, I can remember talking to Ray Perkins after the scrimmage, and he was asking me what I thought, and I remember my exact words. I said, "Ray, we got to get this guy in the game right now."
The Giants have not won a home game against Philadelphia since 1972, so losing is kind of inborn.
Playing for the Giants back in the old days was exercising futility. We were considered the doormat of the NFL industry.
You hope that maybe a Lawrence Taylor, a new player, comes in and plays and makes something happen.
He was eager to learn. He just had to show him the technique, and he could pretty much do it right away.
Hey, Lawrence Taylor is going to be a force in this league.
He just sort of improvised step by step and used moves many of us as defensive players had not seen.
He would make a mistake, and we'd wind up sacking the quarterback, and they were busted defenses.
Number 56, he's not only fast and quick, but he's strong.
And that was my answer to everything. If you don't know what you're doing, just rush the quarterback. Hell, see what happens.
Lawrence Taylor on the blitz. He does it well.
I was very fortunate because I had Bill Parcells, who's the defense coordinator. I had a smart guy behind me, Harry Carson. They could see the talent It was raw, but they could see the talent.
We saw the talent that he was, but we also saw the person that he was, and he became one of us.
He takes a lick from Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson.
Harry is always there to back me up. I'm an instinct player, so I may make a decision that a lot of linebackers may not make.
Lawrence Taylor truly tilted the field when he stepped on it. He was an impact player as a gunner on the punt team when he caused 2 fumbles against the Eagles in the playoffs.
Fumbled. Lawrence Taylor back downfield. 18 years since the playoffs. And now they advance because of Lawrence Taylor.
There was no doubt as to our selection at NFL Films of our Defensive Rookie Player of the Year had to be our guest, Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor married Linda his rookie year, and while she stayed in North Carolina to have their first child, Taylor drifted into a different world.
My rookie year was the first time I had got exposed to drugs.
He's not really that wild. You know, he drinks and, you know, other than that, you know, wild, I wouldn't say wild. He has fun. The Lawrence Taylor that I knew could not stand any kind of drugs.
When I was in college, a lot of guys smoked. I always said that I would never.
I went to visit. I found this white powdery stuff, and he told me it was one of his roommates. I didn't think anything of it.
Back in the 80s, it's very, very common. I can't remember ever going to a party without it being around.
When I finally moved to New Jersey and was actually there all the time, that I realized, okay, we have a problem.
While his off-the-field habits weren't notorious yet, LT was already a household name.
That's when football means a little bit too much to when they say Lawrence Taylor's God.
Every time we would walk off the field, the whole end zone would have all these guys and ladies with 56 jerseys on. I still have nightmares about walking off that field and seeing all those 56 numbers in the stands.
See the strength they handle that quarterback.
I'm going to give you the guys who you sacked the most.
Ron Jaworski, number 1.
No.
Yes, he is.
Randall Cunningham.
Ron Jaworski is number 1, 28. Cunningham is 27.
We kind of became friends, but he would always knock me down, and he'd always say, Jaws, I'll be back.
Jaws. Boy, I could make a highlight film out of just Jaws. Joe Montana. Just before the ball is being snapped, he'll dip down. When he dips down, the ball is coming. Until he dips, I'm not going.
You couldn't hold the ball for any length of time. If you did, at LT, he was there. It didn't matter. You couldn't keep him completely out of a pass play.
As a football player, you couldn't find a more fierce competitor, a more ruthless competitor, but he cared. I mean, a classic example of that is when he broke Joe Theismann's leg.
Ouch. Oh, God, we need to keep watching this, though, do we?
He was shaken. I mean, visibly shaken, and he just wanted to make sure Joe was okay.
Maybe the only thing worse than causing such pain is having to relive it.
Theismann play. If you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah, but I don't like talking about that.
Obviously, he and I are linked forever, but Lawrence Taylor wasn't a dirty player. He was just better than everybody else.
I have a feeling Lawrence Taylor heard the snap of the bone in Theismann's right leg.
Guys, I'm going to call it a day. I think that's enough. That's enough of this one. Yeah, that's enough of this one. Yeah, nice.
That wouldn't be the only thing to haunt Taylor the rest of his life.
Coach Bill Parcells came in. He did an excellent job with us. I feel, I enjoy playing for him.
Lawrence Taylor and Bill Parcells forged a relationship through tough love.
My impressions of Bill Parcells was that, he's a good coach, but God, this guy could be an ass.
LT went inside. Look at this. Lawrence!
He just rode me every day, every day, every day.
Some of these guys got to get their head out of their ass around here. Every once in a while, we get into it a little bit, but he's my boy. That's the way it is.
Bill Parcells was not just the defensive coordinator. He became my friend.
Tough times would bring them closer when Parcells became head coach in 1983.
They were on the brink of firing Bill Parcells in 1984. And Parcells says, look, they're going to fire my ass if I don't win. That's when you really start to see Lawrence really go hard for Bill. And with a vote of confidence led by Lawrence, it's like, yeah, we got you.
Taylor took his play and passion to the next level, transforming the Giants' team culture.
You know, a rising tide raises all boats. That was Lawrence. He was a phenomenal teammate.
Intercepted. George Martin. He's in.
Man, shoot, I used to jump on guys when they make a play.
Taylor doggone near put him out of the game by tackling. Whop, there it is.
Lawrence had that huge personality that just took our talent to a higher level.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs and have some fun. Come on, baby. Come on, Banksy's outside.
If you were screwing up, he would get to you before Bill Parcells would. And that's the one thing a lot of people don't know.
Come on, Carl, think, baby, think.
You know, if you can meet his approval, if he can tell you, good job, homeboy, you kind of know that you were starting to get it.
Homeboy, we can whip these dogs all day. Hey, come on, baby. You can't pussyfoot up in there. You got to run it. You got to run it.
He was so respected for his competitiveness and toughness. I mean, all those they weren't good. They were rare.
Way to go, Cawthorn! That's my boy!
He wasn't about to settle for mediocrity from himself, and he certainly wasn't going to let any of us be slackers as well. So we rose to the level where we became a dominant force, and I think entirely because of Lawrence.
Taylor got the Giants back to the playoffs in 1984. And in 1985, the team hosted its first playoff game in 23 years, which they won, cementing Parcells as head coach.
I'm indebted to him in a lot of ways, along with many other guys, because they're the ones that really got me over the hump as a coach.
Bill Parcells will always be my guy. You know, no matter, what happens, number one on my list is always going to be Bill Parcells.
In the spring of 1986, it was Taylor's turn to face tough times.
Trouble found Lawrence Taylor. He admitted publicly that he had a drug problem. That's all he would say until now. With his wife at his side, he explained he wanted his actions to speak louder than words.
Rehab at that time was a joke.
It was pretty much a joke simply because I was Lawrence Taylor, so to speak. So, I left that rehab 3 days after that story came out and tried to rehab on the golf course. My off-season conditioning consists of hitting a little white ball every day.
I didn't want drugs on my team, but I also wanted to try to be of assistance to the people that needed it. I was pretty well aware of what was going on. I did my best to help him. I would never give up on him. He solved the problem. I didn't solve the problem. I was there for him. I'll always be there for him.
Luckily, Bill was with me that 86 season and helped me as a ball player, but I never received the help that I should have got, or, then, where I have not fallen back into that trap a couple years later. 1986, I was coming off some adversity, so I had a lot to prove to my teammates, myself.
You can run, but you can't hide. Lawrence Taylor from behind. The biggest defensive play of the football game executed by Lawrence Taylor.
You talking about being in the zone. I didn't even think how well I was playing until somebody told me, you might be MVP of the league this year. I'm like, ain't no way.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Taylor, and I'm honored to receive the Gillette NFL Most Valuable Player Award for the 1986-87 season.
I've never been really captivated by awards and stuff, Matter of fact, I don't even know where that trophy is right now, so I have no idea.
Lawrence really was all about winning. He wasn't about personal stats, although he appreciated them and all that, but he was about winning.
If he made 10 tackles and 3 sacks and we lost, he was upset. If he was shut out on tackles and we won, he was happy. And that's the best way to describe it.
In the 1986 playoffs, Taylor was chasing the one thing he had not yet achieved, a Super Bowl title.
Intercepted. There goes Taylor down to the 20. LT, way to go.
He would take himself out of the rush and draw 2 blockers because he knew that that would give us a better pass rush.
Listen to this crowd. The Giants are going to the Super Bowl.
That year, it wasn't just me. I think our whole team had a focus.
Elway's going to try to run it in. He can't do it. Lawrence Taylor was there.
Even if he did not get to the quarterback, there was so much attention being focused on Lawrence. It just made our jobs easier, whether it was George Martin.
He's in the end zone. They got him. Save me.
Leonard Marshall.
Sack. Marshall second. See Lawrence Taylor celebrate over there.
The best roll and reaction after a teammate gets a sack. Lawrence Taylor in the Super Bowl.
The Giants have accomplished something that many people thought they would never see.
You know, I've had a lot of individual accomplishments. But I think the Super Bowls are my greatest accomplishments.
In 6 seasons, Taylor helped take the Giants from perennial losers to Super Bowl champions. Superman had flown to the NFL's greatest height.
You know, it's funny about the Super Bowl because it is the biggest game of your life, of your career, whatever it is. And after the game, so it's like a letdown. The chase was over. You already got to the top.
We're gonna have a little party later on tonight and over at the hotel, so we'll have some champagne, believe me.
You know, we won the Super Bowl. Okay, what's next?
You know, I'm just like a kid in the biggest playground in the world, New York City and New Jersey, and I just have fun with it.
Oh, he had all of New York eating out of his hands. Women, drugs, alcohol, yes. He got the star treatment.
We used to roll with Bruce Willis, Mike Tyson, Whitney Houston, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy used to walk in, we had 4 or 5 bodyguards. LT walked in with me, and all you heard about, LT, there's LT, there's LT, they'd be whispering. Everybody wanted to touch him, shake his hand. He was the king of Jersey and New York.
He could do no wrong in anyone's eyes but mine.
And I look at now the years I was married to her and the different people I was with or around, and the nights I'm out in the streets, and I have to ask my own self, when was I ever home?
Tanisha, hey, Linda, give me something for a nose.
He's just genuinely fun to be around. He's an awesome guy to be around. It just sucks that when you make promises and you don't keep them, or, you know, you disappear for days at a time, it's kind of like, dang, where's that guy that we love so much?
He would play with the kids, and, you know, there were times when we would have a good time. But then there were more times when he was asleep or itching to get out of the house. So when he was there, he was just there.
While Lawrence Taylor wasn't there off the field, on the field, he was changing the game.
Up until then, the focal point has always been on the middle linebacker.
And usually the back or the tight end would block the outside linebacker, and the guard and the tackle would take the inside linebacker.
Well, he forced offenses to behave differently. He kind of took the idea that a running back could be a pass protector on a linebacker and proved that to be false.
You can't block Lawrence Taylor with a back. You can't block Lawrence Taylor by turning the tackle out on him. The best way to try and prevent him from killing you is to put a tight end in his face, which was the beginning of the H-back.
That really was kind of the advent of the one-back offense, which is really preeminent now in pro football.
Rush will be right here, and there's Taylor.
When Bill Walsh would game plan, and it was a testament to what he thought about LT that he actually gave him a number designation. They just put a 56.
There's Taylor.
The way he changed the game is kind of like asking who some of these great Hall of Fame coaches and how they changed the game.
And we will most likely get Taylor over here.
We had to have a special game plan just for Lawrence Taylor.
But what they didn't realize is they had a guy who kind of had a photogenic memory. If he saw it once, he already knew the next thing that they were going to do and just beat the whole protection scheme.
If he had chosen to be a coach after his career was over, he would have been a hell of a coach. You know, Lawrence is one of the smartest people that I know, especially from a football standpoint.
The guard's going to overplay
Lawrence would go out there and come in after the series and say, Coach, they're not blocking it the way you said they were going to block it. Here's what they're doing. Instead of him taking me, this guy's got me, he's helping. I could see that guy looking for me. Some guys just have a instinctiveness and a capacity to do that. That's what makes them special. I mean, that's what makes Tom Brady Tom Brady. It makes Randy Moss Randy Moss. What made Lawrence Taylor Lawrence Taylor. You know, those guys are just, they get it at every level.
Don't forget LT. He's 110% man. Remember this. Anything he does, when he played football, it was 110%. We used to go to the China Club on Monday nights. When he did that, it was 110%.
There's a lot of ways you can beat curfew.
Good night. See you in the morning.
A ball boy comes cheap, you know, $20. They lay in bed all night for you, you know.
We didn't get home to 8, 9 in the morning. Those were crazy days.
What time you gonna go to bed? I'll be out till 4, but see, I think I should be up by at least 9 o'clock.
After a hard night of partying, Lawrence at meetings, he just went to sleep under the table.
At times, just, I mean, he was, I don't want to say out on his feet, but close to it.
But Bill, I know what every guy on that team is doing. So when we would go over defense, well, hell, that's when I'm getting my sleep.
Bill Belichick was installing all of our pass rush, and he starts screaming, damn it, I'm trying to put in something, and you're going to sleep on us. And so Lawrence says, here's what we got to do. He goes up to the board, he draws up our entire pass rush scheme for that game. And he says, what was so hard about that? Is that okay if I can go back to sleep now? But when he walked into that locker room, he had no excuses. He would never say, I'm hungover.
Hey, Brad.
Whatever condition he was in, he'd ask for a can of Skull and be on his way.
I try to be as wild on the field as I am off the field.
In 1988, Taylor's wild side caught up to him.
Last Monday came the stunning news. Lawrence Taylor had failed an NFL drug test and was suspended for a minimum of 30 days.
I didn't mean for it to happen. I wish it hadn't, but I did make a bad decision, and I'll pay the price for that.
Obviously, we're disappointed that it happened, but this is an illness, and, you know, I can't get mad at someone for being sick.
The biggest thing was worrying about, you know, the guys that you had let down, the teammates you let down. And I felt bad, you know, for letting down Bill Parcells and stuff. And it was a rough time. It was a rough time, but, you know, I got through it.
A few weeks after returning from his suspension, Taylor gave one of his greatest performances.
That was one of the most determined athletic endeavors that I witnessed on his part that night.
Now here's how he gets hurt. Dombrowski locks his arm. Now as Taylor comes around the corner, he just jammed, I think, his right shoulder into the ground. He gets over the sideline. He's saying, strap me up, I'm going back.
Yeah, if you get strapped up like this, you really have to want to go back down.
This is like a gladiator. Julius Caesar's applauding this man's effort.
And I played in a lot of pain. I mean, I tell you, I just played off of just adrenaline, you know, just emotion.
Play action. Taylor knocked it away. Giants football. Lawrence Taylor caused the fumble the second time. Holy cow.
Tonight, Lawrence Taylor has got that throttle opened at about 200%. This guy is relentless.
He still managed to play and be a force in the game, just managed to overcome it until finally the game was over.
This is the game. It's on the line right here. Ball is up, and it's going to be good.
And I told him after the game, I said, that's the best I've ever seen you do. I think it's a signature game.
I don't know if I would have done that for any other coach other than Bill Parcells.
Soon, Taylor would learn what football was like without Bill Parcells.
It was pretty much the end of my career, too, because I'll tell you what, I couldn't pull it back together. In '86, we by far had the best team on the planet that year. But going into that 1990 season, it was touch and go. We weren't as good as we thought we were.
In 1990, the Giants were not what they once were. Neither was Lawrence Taylor.
I noticed that there were players who were well below what his skill level was that were blocking him. And I said, you know, you used to be a great player, but now you're just a pass rush specialist. You want to be a great player again? I'll coach you that way. Or you just want to stay a pass rush specialist, and I'll coach you that way. And he said, I want to be a great player. And so from that point on, he had 15 sacks for the year, and he was dominant in the run game.
Running away from Taylor. You can't run away from him. He's like one of those heat-seeking missiles.
You know, I used to love this. Run down the line and tap him from behind, you know?
Wherever you run, you better block Lawrence Taylor.
He's an amazing individual. You're not dealing with a normal human being, normal football player here.
Aikman back inside the 5, throws, tipped high, intercepted by Taylor, he'll score! Oh, Lawrence, the magician.
Taylor returned to his 1986 playing form, and while the Giants may not have been as talented in 1990, they pulled together.
Phil Simms got hurt, and Jeff Hofstadter could get the job done, and the defense played well. And that's what makes that year so special. We played better. We played great as a team.
Lawrence Taylor comes up with a big play and knocks him for a 7-yard loss on a 3rd down. Great players make big plays in big games.
Here we come. Going back to California, guys.
No team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls, and the Niners have their eyes set on that.
The best thing about him was, if you showed him where the competition was, he would respond to it.
Leonard Marshall and Lawrence Taylor. Once he gets the quarterback in his sights, he's going to get him.
Lawrence had an inherent ability to raise his game to the highest level necessary for the situation he was in.
Lawrence Taylor was the first guy there. He was trying to avoid him. In doing so, Marshall got him from behind.
He was at his best at the most critical or crucial times. When there was a big play in the game, he had enough in his tank to give it to you then.
And the clock continues to tick off those precious seconds. If ever you're going to make something happen, this is it. The 49ers by a point. Get behind the line of scrimmage, and the Giants have the ball. Lawrence Taylor out of the pack with the ball. That's the play they needed. They needed something to get him out of this.
Who else should be there to recover it but Lawrence? And we went down the field. Matt Barr kicked the field goal on the last play of the game.
After a decade in the league, 10 straight Pro Bowls, and 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, Lawrence Taylor, the man who cared more about wins than accolades, was on the field for the most important special teams plays of 1990.
Here's the snap, here's the kick, plenty of distance, it is good, the New York Giants are going to the Super Bowl. 8 seconds. Well, the Giants know what it's like to live this from the other end.
Well, it was rare that, yes, that he would be on special teams, but not rare that he would think that way. Nobody had a better chance to make a play than he did, whether it was get in the backfield and recover that fumble in San Francisco, try to block a kick at the end of the game. It was all about winning with Lawrence.
It is no good. Wide right. Giants win.
Carl Banks, both of us was looking at each other and wondering if we were going to be able to hold up Bill. You know, I think that was a big problem. I was like, Bill up there squirming. But it was a great feeling to be able to win that game and carry the guy that really got us there.
Bill Parcells and Lawrence Taylor had carried each other a long way, but this would be their last ride.
When Bill Parcells left after Super Bowl 25, I didn't want to hit nobody no more, and I didn't want to be hit. I had retired when Bill left and just didn't tell nobody until 3 years later.
2 minutes left. You know, the end is so tough because you've been playing so long. 13 years of pro football, and then the end.
My last game, I thought to myself, do I really want to retire? And somebody said to me, well, hell, you can start doing recreational drugs again. And I got that thought in my head that day. I got that thought in my head, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So I just retired.
The season's over now, the game is over, and my career is over. I put in my time. I can't play till I'm 100, don't want to play.
And I started recreational drugs again, and that was just the beginning of the toll end. Started right there.
ladies and gentlemen, Lawrence Taylor.
When he stopped playing football, he was back on drugs again, and I knew in order to save myself and my kids, I knew it was time to go. On the night they retired his jersey, me and my kids got on a flight the next day.
I give my mom a lot of credit. I remember her always saying, we gotta get them out of here, you know, we gotta get them into a new environment so they can experience, you know, something different. But this time she had mentioned that we were moving, and I knew she was serious when he's not coming with us.
And I'd like to thank my family and my friends for always being there for me.
Not that I wanted to break up the family, but to me it was already broken.
Taylor was arrested during a drug sting in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina last night.
My life was on the way down, and it was on the way down fast. And the highs that I could get just by playing the Washington Redskins or the Philadelphia Eagles, now I had to get that through a daggone pipe.
The former New York Giant defensive linebacker was in his hotel room in St. Pete Beach, Florida, when police arrested him for buying a small amount of crack cocaine.
Taylor spiraled, falling out with family and former teammates.
And I was friends with Harry Carson the whole time I was playing, and then we had a rift, and we didn't talk for like 5 years.
We had some issues, and those issues sort of played out publicly. He said certain things, I said certain things that may have been misinterpreted or should not have been said.
If you see the informant that smoke with me, you bring him out and I'll kiss his black ass or white ass, whatever ass he got.
I know his ex-wife Linda came to try to help him. Harry Carson, of course, tried to talk to him, but like LT told me, when you're down and out, you don't listen.
I went back to the house. He was in rehab, and I cried. I actually cried when I walked in the house because it was like a drug den.
Yeah, how you doing, Mission Control?
He was really at the pit. There was nowhere to go but to the grave.
Do you cheated dead? Yeah, anybody else would do what he did, he'd be dead. He'd be dead.
Taylor told police he is going through some serious personal problems.
In 1998, Taylor had to finally put his full effort into rehab at the Honesty House.
And the third time I went, my counselor, he could see it in my face that I was kind of broken. He said, well, you ready to do it my way this time? And I actually said yes, and I did it his way. And, you know, instead of being there for 2 weeks or 30 days, I was there for 64 days. And it worked, and I've been clean since.
When he went to the Honesty House, I wasn't convinced that anything different was going to happen. But the day that I realized that he was actually trying to make a change, not just for him, but for us as a family, is the day that I received the letter. Dear Tanisha, I know you think that I don't love you, but you're wrong. There is no way that I could ever stop loving you.
I know you might be upset about your mom and myself not being together. I confess that it's 99% my fault.
I know that I've let you down in the past, and I know that I haven't always been there for you. And for that, I am truly, truly sorry.
And he just told us that addiction runs in our family. And so even though I was really young and I didn't really understand what was going on, those words stuck with me my whole entire life. Because I feel like he went through a lot of things, so I didn't have to.
You guys represent everything good in my life.
I love you always, Dad.
He was sincere about it. He meant it. The words on those papers are the same today as they were then. My dad loves me.
Taylor's family was in Canton when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, where he had to make one more reconciliation.
Me and this guy, we had some words a while back. We kind of split ways.
Harry Carson in 1999 at the Hall of Fame, he came out there and And man, I was so appreciative.
I made certain that I was there for his induction, even though I wasn't invited.
But I'm telling you, Harry Carson came out for me today.
We put whatever differences we had aside, and we're growing closer.
And that's the classiest thing I've ever seen in my life, Harry. Thank you. Thank you. I love you, man.
We've been friends again ever since, and I can't imagine not having a guy like Harry Carson as my friend.
11 years later, Carson would be by his friend's side in the face of more trouble.
Police Department accusing Lawrence J. Taylor of more patronizing a prostitute.
I found out that he was going to do the plea thing, and I said, I'm going to be there. He didn't know I was coming, and when he saw me, that was when I knew I did the right thing. He wanted me to sit next to him until his case was called. It was hard to sit there and hear the certain things spelled out, but I was there because, you know, he is like a brother to me. And he is human, and he made a mistake.
I was with a escort or a prostitute or whatever you want to call it. I've done it all my life. You know, I understand the gravity of the situation, but like I said, hey, I can only ask and to tell me that is my responsibility. No matter what you tell me, if you tell me you a certain age, and well, I mean, I'm not a horse trader. I'm not going to open your mouth and count how many teeth you got. You know, it's simple as that. But hey, it's a learning curve, and there's been a lot of learning curves in my life. And fortunately, I have friends that love me. I have family that loves me. I know who I am, and I know what I am, and I'm able to keep going on.
A walk through Lawrence Taylor's life is through peaks and valleys. He's never taken the straight and narrow path. Through it all, he keeps moving forward.
He's the best that ever played the position.
Best that ever played.
Bar none. Bar none. Without exception. And I don't mean just the best linebacker that I've ever seen him play with. He is the best professional football player, athlete that I've ever seen in my 14-year career.
I don't know who I could put in front of him. Not that there weren't a lot of other great players, I'm not saying that. But when you put it all together, he was special. He's at the top.
He had a dramatic effect on professional football. He really did.
Football is always easier than life in general. It's easier than anything else.
All the things I've done in my life, there is nothing I do better than play the game of football. You know, you would like to be a better person, a better husband, a better father, but the one thing I can put my hat on is the game of football.
On this hand, yes, I'm respected for what I did. I'm respected for the game of football, but I'm also known as, for no better word, up. There's always something that happens that you think is going to be the end of the world, but I climb back. I climb back.
Life can knock you down. No matter how many times it knocks you down, a Hall of Famer realizes that the crime is not being knocked down. The crime is not getting up again.
There is a lot of things in my life that I regret, and I wish would have done better, maybe had a better life, but I'll live with it, and I'm still proud of what I've achieved.